Welcome to my dad's car. Enjoy!
Welcome to My Dad's Car, a podcast discussing our personal relationship with automotive nostalgia. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be about your dad's car. It can be your mum's, your grand's, your parents', guardians, or even a neighbour's. If it made an impression, let's talk about it.
Hello, sir.
Afternoon.
You right?
All right, yeah. You got the lumberjack look today.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
I've got somebody coming to collect some furniture this afternoon. And if that potentially does fall within this hour, I might have to dash off for a moment.
Yeah, I was just going to add a delivery caveat, which I'm awaiting a kitchen floor to be delivered.
Ah, right. Nice.
So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. How are we doing, Elliot?
Hello. Yeah, doing really well, thank you. How's your January going? Treating you guys okay?
Getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. A little bit chilly, but yours?
Yeah, pretty good.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll start. For the benefit of the tape, we're joined by Elliot Mitchell, who, first for us, is intergenerational. We've had your dad, Rob, on, and I was going to look up what episode it was, and I didn't. So, yeah, if you go back through our back catalogue, you'll find a brilliant episode with Elliot's dad, Rob. Obviously, lots of reference to your grandfather. So, yeah, we're now doing the next generation. See where this takes us.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Have you told him you're coming on?
I haven't, no. I'm expecting him to sort of notice my name on there, or I might tell him once it's published. But
So I saw him at the weekend and half kind of dropped you in it. I was like, I think I'm talking to your son soon. He's like, oh,
okay.
I don't know about that. Yeah, he wasn't kind of angry or anything.
No, not at all. Saw him in London this week, and he didn't mention anything. So yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's your earliest car memory, Elliot?
Oh, it's a good one. I've been thinking a lot on this. My memory from back in the day is a little hazy, especially with timelines. So there's a few that sort of ring out to me. But I think, going back to my granddad, it was going to the Goodwood Revival with him in his 356. I remember sitting on a hay bale and listening to him natter to a load of his sort of Porsche Club friends. So I think that was it. That's my earliest one, I think, and pretty special one, I have to say. Little sort of day trips in that car were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
So some of these memories, I guess you've got kind of a fair amount of memory without having siblings, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And Dad and my mum separated a long time ago. So I've got all sorts of car memories from my mum's side of the family as well as Dad's, which is good fun. Both of my grandfathers have into cars in their own way. So I was very lucky, I think, to end up in the position I am with cars, because both of them set me up very well. And Dad, of course. And Mum had an interesting history with cars as well. So
fantastic. So if we kind of continue on our journey, what do you remember your dad driving, kind of sort of going back into the past?
We talked a lot, but I don't remember myself. But the first car I ever went in was his dark blue A4 Avant. He took me home in the hospital with, but I don't remember that car myself. I've seen lots of photos about it. I feel like the first car I remember him going in the car with him in was he had a 156 Cellar Speed. I think it was a 2-litre silver.
Alfa
Romeo, yeah. And I've been well into Alfas since then. That's thanks to him as well. Well, I remember him picking me up once, and he'd been to the Netherlands, I think, and someone had broken into it and torn the sort of stereo out the dash.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that was a quiet drive, that one.
I thought the Dutch were better than that.
Yeah, me too. Maybe it wasn't the Netherlands. Yeah. But no, I think it was. So he'd had to drive back from Europe with no music, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and what about your mother? I guess so. You grew up living with her, did you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and then saw Dad very regularly, and then we moved to Buckinghamshire, and he was still down sort of south of London. But you see him every other weekend. I used to spend a lot of the time in the car with Dad because he used to drive to pick me up, and then we'd drive back to his for the weekend. So yeah, I'd spend a lot of time in his cars and get very familiar with them, and we'd listen to music, and that certainly developed my music taste as well. Come from spending a lot of time with him driving.
What was he listening to in the car, Elliot?
The ones that sort of stand out to me were early Foo Fighters albums. and Red Hot Chili Peppers we used to listen to a lot, and Faithless as well. He's a big Faithless fan, so we used to listen to a lot of that. In the cars he had that had really good sound systems, we always were using them at max capacity, it felt like. So
very eclectic mix, Faithless and Chili Peppers.
Yeah, definitely.
I can relate to that because my parents split up when I was a year, 18 months or whatever. And I used to see my dad every 3 weeks. I was born in Kent, so he lived up in Kent. And yeah, we were down in Sussex. So yeah, I'd do a lot of time on the road with him. So yeah, you kind of have that almost two separate lives going on. And yeah, obviously you've got kind of a life at home where you're going to school and you've got your family, or maybe I've got brothers and sisters down here as well. So extended family. And then kind of at the weekend, you've got something else going on.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I know no different. It was quite nice in that way. Like, the only thing I don't know whether I regret it or not, I never really had a friendship circle when I went to see my dad. I kind of saw him and I saw my sister and my stepmom, my stepbrother. But apart from some of my dad's friends, I had no friendship circle of my age there. But fond memories.
I recognise that too, I have to say. Yeah, there was a couple of people who used to live streets nearby at Dad's, so I used to hang out with them occasionally, or if I spent a few weeks there in the summer. But you're right, I'd never built much of a friendship circle around there.
Yeah.
Although I went to a boarding school, I was a day pupil, but because it was a boarding school, it was like you were there a lot as a day pupil. So outside of school, I didn't build much of a friendship circle either until I got my car, and that's where I started to. Because we lived out in the countryside, so there wasn't even a shop I could sort of walk to in the village. And then I got a car, and it completely changed my freedom and my social life from that. So they're amazing things, cars.
What do you remember of your grandfather apart from his Porsche? Do you remember other cars that he was driving?
The first one I remember was a black, I want to say CLK 350 diesel, 2004, 5, maybe 2003 gen. Lovely car. I remember him bringing back, I don't remember what he had before that, but I remember him saying Nanny saw it on like a plinth at the dealership and she really wanted it. So they came home with that, which was really cool. Had the motorized sort of seatbelt handing device, which was really cool. And pneumatic bolsters on the seats, so you could adjust how stiff and how lumbar support with gas on little valves, which was pretty cool. So
obviously, I'm imagining you've heard the episode we did with your dad, and I've had the pleasure of meeting your grandfather since.
Yeah,
your dad did the record with us, and then a few weeks later I get a message from him because he's taken your grandfather to the Mercedes dealership.
Yeah,
and he's bought like a 300 horsepower A-Class or something.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see Pops sort of making that sort of decision, especially at his age, really committing to continuing to enjoy his hobby, which is brilliant. He has let me drive it once, and that was an experience as well. So
I feel like Mercedes should have given us a little bit of commission, Andy, for that purchase.
Affiliate link.
2% would do us, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say it feels like the last, I guess, 10 years since I've started driving, I've really grown into my relationship with cars, and around my dad and my pops has really grown, and it's fantastic. It's sharing an intergenerational hobby and passion like that is fantastic. I feel very, very lucky.
It's quite a privilege to be able to, because my grandparents were gone long before I was an adult. So when I see like people like yourself, or sometimes when I go on the train, you see sort of generations of families, don't you, like going up to the city to go and see a show or something. It blows my mind a little bit to see the grandchild, the mother, and then the grandmother, all just going out together. But yeah, it's good to see. I guess in theory it should become more of a common thing, shouldn't it? People living longer, that sort of thing. But I'd probably just be at home rather than out with the grandkids.
Blanket on your legs.
Yeah. I don't feel too well.
Bit of horse racing on the telly.
You go.
Pipe on the arm of the chair.
Yeah, I have to say, on the other side of my family, my grandfather is about as fit and active as Dad's dad is. And he played a big part in teaching me how to fix cars. So, yeah, I was very, very lucky there. I spent a lot of time in that house. They had a nice big garage and driveway. So,
yeah, tell us more about him. What was his background? Do you remember kind of what his trade was and what he was driving? And
so he was an electrical engineer, started out in the RAF fixing radio and radar systems, and then went into medical devices. He sort of designed with some scientists the early ultrasound Doppler ultrasound machines.
Okay.
And then spent a lot of his career traveling all over the world, fixing and iterating on these machines, which is pretty cool. Although he wasn't, when he was working full time, he wasn't around much for my mum, unfortunately. So he's a very sort of, I want to say worldly wise, but he's not wise, but he's experienced, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's funny, but still travels for work occasionally. He can't give it up. He's 87 now.
He's still working?
He's going to Dubai this month to a health conference. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a bit of a nutcase.
My grandfather used to say, you don't stop doing things because you get old. You get old because you stop doing things. And I think there's something in that
Absolutely.
Actually, if you see some people get to 65 and switch off, don't they? It's countdown 15-1 Horlicks, and that's it. And actually, like by the time they've reached sort of 70, they're infirm and sat. They may as well have been in a nursing home. And then you've got others like your grandfather who's still working at 80 something. You've got to Dubai, and I think actually you have just got to keep going.
Yeah, I think it absolutely keeps him going. I think he'd go crazy if he didn't have something like that to do. So, is
your grandmother still around on that side? And condolences, you lost your grandmother on your father's side.
Thank you. Yeah, that was tough on Pops, but yeah, I still got my grandma on my mum's side.
And she's happy with him going off to work? And
I don't think she's ever been happy with it, but after, I guess, 60 years of it, she puts up with it. But yeah, I don't live far from them, so I often pop in, and especially when Grandad's away, I'll maybe stay a few nights or keep her company, which she enjoys. So
So what was he driving?
So the first car I remember him having, I think he bought it when I was born, was a burgundy or a purple Chrysler Voyager MPV. Really unusual. I think it was a 2.3 diesel. Had a really distinctive diesel-y sort of rattle. He's a fan of diesel cars in general. You always knew when he'd arrived at the house because it made such a distinctive noise, this engine.
Is that like the airport transfer special in the UK, that car, isn't it? It's that sort of thing.
I think so, yeah, with the big sliding doors. That's and the seats that like fold up and out the way. He absolutely loved it for that sort of, utilitarian. I think he was just looking for an excuse to get that sort of car when I was born. So, yeah, he had that, and I think he had that for 6 years or so.
Did your grandmother drive?
She did, yes. Actually, that was on my list of other early car memories. She had a turquoise Escort XR3i cabriolet with little spotlights. I think it was a Mark 4, Mark 5 Escort. And it had like optional Recaro seats, and she loved that car. So she used to take me out as a baby in that with the roof down and things like that, which was good fun. I think that's the coolest car she's had. And then when Mum and I moved, in order to look after me, she bought a Rover 75 as a sort of a cruiser to travel between Hampshire and Buckinghamshire. And I think it was a 2-litre or 2.5 V6, but it had a lovely engine note. And I remember I was starting to really get into movies with car chases and things like that. I always remember saying to it sounds like James Bond's Aston Martin V12, which looking back, it probably had a little bit of a tone like that. So maybe.
The marketing team at Longbridge would have been pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably on the website now, isn't it? Quote. Nice interior on those cars, wasn't it?
Yeah, really funky with all the sort of the oval shapes, a lot of wood. And that was like a metallic light green as well, which was interesting.
I always remember they had the sort of bespoke rear number plates, didn't they?
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because we used to work in the place that used to sell car parts, didn't we, Andy? If someone came in for a rear plate on a 75, it would be, can't do it, I'm afraid.
I think same on the S-Type, wasn't it? On this S-Type Jag, was an odd shape as well.
We haven't got enough acrylic, I'm afraid.
The L322 Range Rover, I think, also has like a funny shape. Definitely a larger shape one. So it's funny. All these extra choices.
So what colour was the Rover 75? Green?
Yeah, like a light metallic green.
Oh, okay.
They bought it at auction. I don't know how. And that lasted a good few years. So effectively a purple or burgundy Chrysler on the drive and a green Rover. So yeah, they've got a passion for interesting coloured cars maybe. And then Grandad sold the Voyager and bought a Chrysler 300C.
Oh, yeah.
V6 diesel. So there's like an E-Class underneath essentially. And that was an interesting choice. But yeah, really, really cool. I have to say, it seemed fairly well built for me at the time, although you had to have the alloys replaced on warranty about 4 times because they used to corrode. They were early diamond cut ones and they used to just corrode. So, yeah.
You don't see many of those these days. There was a whole spate, wasn't there, where there was a lot of them about.
There's still a few knocking around, though, isn't there? There must be sort of a 20-year-old car, aren't they? The 300C. Yeah. An estate must be pretty rare.
Yeah, it was quite unusual at the time, for sure. But yeah, I thought that was really exciting when I was a young'un. So that was cool. And it had a little DVD player screen in the back, which was fun. So
what, in the headrests?
In the armrest in the center console, which was really, really unusual. But I worked out I could plug my PlayStation into it as well. So I used to, on long road trips, plug my PS2 into the...
Elliot's quiet in the back today.
Yeah. Yeah, until I start feeling really car sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting. And then after that, he got an L322 Range Rover about, must be 12 years ago, and he's still got that now. So it was a young car when he bought it. Now it's a bit old, but it's still cracking on. Very reliable for a JLR product, it seems. 4.4 diesel V8 with the 8-speed ZF box. So it's really, really bomb-proof car.
Is that one of the last sort of reliable Range Rovers? Not that I know much about Range Rovers. Didn't they go sort of...
I think so. Yeah, it was that facelift because the L322 is designed by BMW, and I've got an E46 now, and it's quite weird because you notice some of the same things in there, either just like from sort of their design philosophy or actually the parts. So like the interior lights are the same as the E46, which is really odd.
What E46 have you got, Elliot?
I've got it's 2003, so facelift touring. It's a 330i touring.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not very fuel efficient, but I absolutely love it. It's an absolute beaut to drive. Yeah, I love it to bits. And I manual swapped it in the summer, so it's...
oh, right. Serious stuff.
Yeah, the auto was a bit at the end of its life anyway, but it's lovely to drive now. It's manual, so really, really pleased with it. But yeah, sort of speaking of that, sort of working on cars is definitely thanks to my granddad on both sides, really. They've given me that ability and confidence to take on projects like that.
It is a confidence, isn't it, working on cars?
Absolutely, the confidence, yeah.
Anyone in inverted commas could kind of do it, but you have got to have some sort of confidence to sort of jump into it and not mess it up.
Yeah.
A lot of the trouble is if you've only got one car and you need that car to work, it's taking the risk of, I can try and do this. If it doesn't go right, then I'm going to be walking around for the next few weeks until somebody knows what they're doing, fixes it. But yeah, the confidence is everything, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Depends what job you're doing, doesn't it? Is it going to immobilise the car or not?
Good stuff. I was going to ask, Elliot, you mentioned boarding school. Any interesting cars from teachers at all that you can remember?
Yes, quite a list, actually. I mean, when all the parents sort of came in for end of term and things like that, it was like a Range Rover or Volvo XC90 showroom, which I think is sort of par for the course. One of my friends' dads had a 535 diesel estate. That was really cool. And one of my friends, I went over to stay at his dad's house, and they had a really cool selection of cars. The main piece of interest was a 599 GTO Ferrari he had tucked away in the garage, which was quite something to go and have a look at. And then I think their dailies were a California and a RS4. So
wow,
that was a nice place to go and go and stay over and have a look.
What was your friend's parents' day job? Do you know?
His dad ran and sold an IT business and had just started another one. So yeah, that was an interesting one. I remember one of my teachers, my chemistry teacher had an S2000, which was a lovely, lovely bit of kit. I remember thinking he was really cool, and he really didn't like me for some reason. Yeah, I was always trying to be a bit of a teacher's pet, and he just didn't like me. And a physics teacher had a 9.5 Aero Hot estate, which was really cool. So that was like I think he'd had it tuned, and it's like 280, 300 horsepower, something like that.
What did you say his subject was? Physics?
Physics, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Definitely.
I can only remember one sort of half decent, well, it was a nice car actually that a teacher had, and I don't remember what his subject was, but he was my whole old head of year, and he had a Mercedes 190 Cosworth in sort of maroon. Yeah, it was a nice car. A bit sort of, when I first saw him getting into it, I thought, oh, I'll give you a bit more time now.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see him getting into one. It was real sort of stuck out like a sore thumb, obviously, in the school car park.
Yeah,
but
that's lovely, isn't it? That's really cool.
My form tutor when I was at college, my first year at college, he was a design teacher. He had like the sort of classic 3-door late 80s Saab in white, like the turbo. Pretty sure it was a turbo. And yeah, that was kind of, but yeah, that was again sort of a designy type thing. He looked a little bit like Wayne Hemingway, but with a bit more hair. He kind of got that look about him.
I think I mentioned before, I had a teacher in primary school who always bought Saabs, like the old star ones that you just mentioned, Andy. And even after school, I still see him driving around the village in an old Saab.
What was your mum driving?
So she had quite a few BMWs, E46 318i Saloon. It's a company car, I think. That's the first car of hers I remember. And then she went to an E46 Cabriolet. And then she had a Mercedes Cabriolet and then went back to the E46 after that. I think it was a CLK cab. That was quite exciting. And that was a 200 compressor. But it was the first car I'd been in that was really digital. So it had like a proper trip computer on the dash and stuff, which was cool.
Was she one for music in the car?
That's her main criteria for buying a car, was a high quality sound system, which is, I really like.
Has she got a good taste in music, or is it a bit embarrassing?
I think it's pretty good. There's some stuff I'm not so sure about, but a lot of R&B, a lot of soul and Motown kind of stuff. So I used to listen to a lot of Chic and Michael Jackson in the car, Nile Rodgers stuff. So yeah, that was really cool.
Is your mum to blame for the sort of E46 that you currently own then, Elliot?
Both of them, I think. So mum had a couple of E46s. So the last one was a silver 325i cab. That was lovely. My stepmum, Lindsay, had an E46 compact, and dad had a grey E46 330D touring. So I think between them, I think they're responsible for that. It seems like a lot of my car taste has been deeply informed by my parents, which I think is a good thing. I'm certainly not embarrassed by their car taste, so that's good. Because I feel like people either completely diverge from what their parents like, or the whole family has the same sort of taste. So I think I'm in that latter camp.
It depends what your parents had. Like if you got brought up on a diet of Yugos and the like, you're probably going to run a mile from it, aren't you? But actually, if you were served up some decent cars, then it makes sense to stick with it, doesn't it? Yeah, definitely.
Is there one in particular, Elliot, that your parents or anyone in your family's owned that you fancy getting your hands on one day?
Yeah, Granddad's L322 I'm really, really keen for. I'm not even into sort of four-wheel drives or big cars, really. But that individual car, I think, is just...
What colour is that one?
Bourneville brown metallic. It's a really dark, you'd almost say black or grey, but it's got this lovely brown metal flake, cream interior. So yeah, that's really nice. But one car on my list that is definitely Dad's fault is a VW Phaeton.
Oh, okay.
But it had the vents that open up when you start the ignition and massaging seats, and it's a fantastic car.
How much are they for a good one? What, 10 grand maybe or more? I don't really know.
Yeah, there's tens of 3-litre diesels out there. You could probably get a nice one for 6 or 7 now, but if you wanted a W12 or a V10, a nice one is probably going to be like 10 or 12 or 15. Depends on the condition. How you'd run a V10 or a W12 Phaeton, I don't know. So, I test drove a 3 grand one
wow.
a little while ago, and one of the doors didn't open, and it was just really ropey. It was lovely. I mean, it was a lovely spec car, but I just knew there was no way I could have afforded to keep that one going.
How many miles had that one done? Do you remember?
It's only like 120k, not a lot. So I think it just had a rough life. It drove really nicely, actually, but the door was a MOT failure, and getting parts for those cars is an interesting one. So, and then I almost bought a Saab 9.3, and then the E46 popped up, and I was like, I'll have that one. So, yeah, that was good fun.
They've got to be black, I think. Those. I'll just look at it on eBay now. There's one 3-litre V6, 2750.
Oh, okay.
MOT until October, 61,000 miles. There's a couple on there, 99p, and there's another one at like 1,200 quid, but it's got no MOT.
Yeah. Yeah, they only look right in really dark colours like black or navy blue, because the silver ones just look like a Passat to me. So
yeah, I think my boss had an A8, and he had a silver one of those. Actually, I think the silver on the Audi works.
Does look good.
Yeah, the Volkswagen. It looks a bit more like a taxi, doesn't it?
You lose all the effect of the chrome parts on it, I think.
Yeah. So you fancy one of those?
Really fancy one of those. I think
With a
that'd be
silly
really
engine?
cool. Do you know what? I'd be happy with, I'd love a silly engine, but I'd be happy even with just the diesel 3 litre, because it's hard to find the other ones. I think probably they did do a 4.2 V8, but they're really, really rare here. So I think that's probably my pick. A W12 would be an absolute nightmare to live with, I think.
What's the question? What's the tax on those? It's not one of the lumpy ones, is it? The £600.
It's got to be, isn't it?
Top band all the way. Yeah. I think you could be really lucky with a really early one and have it in the lowest band, in the sort of the top band, but pre-2006. But I think most of them are in that crazy band. It's like 750 quid now, I think.
Got a friend he hasn't driven it for a few years. It just sits on his drive, but it's a 7 Series from about 2001, 4.5 litre petrol.
E38, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it used to be like a chauffeur car, I think. So the only bit of wear on it is where someone's been sitting in the back left, and there's like on the armrest, apparently. But yeah, that's the super duper tax level, and yeah, you just can't justify sort of taxing it. And so sadly, it's just sitting there, probably perishing, but it's in black as well. Nice car.
Yeah, he's running those sorts of cars. I feel like even a few years ago, my insurance premiums were high enough that actually the tax seemed like it paled into insignificance. But now I'm fortunate I've got old enough now. I actually think they're like on par. So
Yeah.
I've just had my insurance, just on that subject, come through. I turned 40 last year, and it's the first year that it's ever been lower, the latest quote, than...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's got anything to do with my age, but...
I found pretty much like standard rates that 30 quid a month. That's kind of my Porsche 944 and my 1.2 Polo, pretty much the same each month. Actually, they're now on a multi-car, but essentially they work out pretty much the same. And that's just bizarre.
Yeah, it's a funny industry for sure. Oh, on the 7 Series note, so my mum and her dad worked together for a period and made friends all over the world, but a lot in the States through work. And one of her workmates had an E38. That was his sort of company car, almost disposable company car. He didn't use much. It just sort of sat on the driveway because he had a very interesting garage otherwise. And he took me out in it was a navy blue AC Cobra he had. That was a core automotive memory for me, I think, as well, as going out in Rick's AC. And I burnt my leg on the exhaust trying to get out.
Yeah.
So, when I was 8 or 9 years old. So that was pretty cool as well. And I remember he had a couple of, I think a C2 and a C3 Corvette in his garage in Ohio. He had this massive garage with like lifts of classic American cars. So that was a bit of a influential memory to me, thinking I need a life like this.
Yeah. I know your dad's done Le Mans and stuff. Have you done that with him?
I haven't done Le Mans with Dad. We've done the Silverstone Grand Prix a few times, a couple of events in the UK. I don't think we've been abroad together yet. There's definitely those things will be happening soon. So
has he let you loose in the Porsche?
Yes, last year he let me take it around Donington.
Well, the 996.
The 996, yeah.
How was he? Was he comfortable with that, or was it?
He didn't even passenger. He just said, "Just take it out," which I was a bit
and hid in the corner,
pacing up and down. Yeah, looking at his watch.
It was hard to push it because it was a bit nerve-wracking driving Dad's car, but it was lovely. The noise of that car and the throttle response is just fantastic. Yeah, that was a cracking track day we did. I've still not driven the 356 yet. I'm absolutely desperate. Even like around a car park or something, I'd love to get in it. But I followed it in convoys a few times to Goodwood and other events, and it's just watching that thing move on the road is just beautiful.
Yeah, lovely little car.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And such a great story with it as well. It's a really nice story.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's got so much value for us Mitchells. It feels like our family history is in that car. So it's, really special to us.
So have you got to fight your brother for it?
I was going to say, you next in line, or
He
is there
doesn't
some
stand a chance. That's funny. I think maybe, but we'll see what happens. See what Dad does with it, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not wishing your father away at any moment at all.
Ethan can have the 996. That's fine. I suppose on the 996 note, I always remember as a kid, as you do when you're asking everyone when you're into cars, what's your favorite car, or what's your dream car if you had unlimited money or anything? And I always remember Dad saying, I want a Porsche 911 to all those questions. And almost as a kid, it was like a bit boring. Like, oh, say something different. But that's always been sort of running in my mind as, oh, all Dad wants is a 911. And then watching him buy it, and when he told me he's going to pick it up, it was pretty special to witness that, and to see him achieve that was really, really something. So
yeah. My point of view, obviously, he had the 944 before, and I've got a 944, and that was a lovely car. It's a bit of a shame to see the back of that, but yeah.
I was so shocked when Dad told me he bought a Porsche. So the 944 was really cool.
Is that the one he bought on an auction on a train journey?
Yeah, on the way back from work in London. Yeah,
potentially under the influence when the decision was made.
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
That's a good story.
It's great. It's a great story, and I think he had it under wraps for a little while before we all found out, which was a laugh. Yeah, watching him be able to put some of his time and effort into some cars that I'd seen him sort of lust after and love for a long time is really, really something. And yeah, being able to join him on that journey is lovely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really cool place to wrap it up. Thank you very much, Elliot, for our first intergenerational episode of My Dad's Car.
Yeah, this is really, really nice, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Look forward to interviewing one of your children in 30 years' time and saying, oh, we want that Porsche off him.
Yeah, I don't have kids yet, but we'll see how that goes. Although I suspect maybe Ethan or Matilda might be keen in the coming years.
Fantastic. Yeah, have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much, guys.
Send our best regards to all your family.
Yes, I will do. Lovely. Thanks very much.
See you soon. Cheers.
See you later.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Cool. Here we go. Our second Mitchell.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of a Mitchell brothers joke there. We could get his brother on.
It's really nice to get him on. Obviously, you hear the kind of the next part of the story. Really, it's tricky, isn't it? With the newer stuff, I just don't have that connection with it.
Yeah.
So it's trying to kind of get beyond the car and kind of dig out the memory. And I could absolutely relate to him with spending that time apart from my father and then traveling around, etc. at weekends. So yeah, it felt sort of very mirrored. Like him talking about that was very similar to kind of my experience.
Yeah. One of the advantages of being into cars, if you have got to do that trip with one of your parents every week or every few weeks, it helps, doesn't it? Because that's the sort of thing carrying you along. And
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, if he was having some interesting cars, like I think Rob had an Alfa, didn't he? By the sounds of things, it's a bold move, isn't it, by anyone really? But if you're in, they say it's kind of one of those things you've got to tick off if you're into cars.
Sounds like the same as a $2,000 Phaeton as well.
Well, a bold move, yeah. Similar to a £1,500 Boxster, that roll of the dice.
Yeah. It almost feels as if you're going to purchase something like that for that sort of rock bottom price. You need to document it, don't you, really, in some form, whether it be on some sort of vlog or...
Yeah. Here's me putting my life savings on red.
It's too good not to sort of tell people about, isn't it?
Yeah, with the risk of inspiring them to make a dreadful mistake. Because it could get burned.
Yeah.
But nice to hit, obviously, earliest car memory out with his grandfather in the 356 at Goodwood. And his grandfather on his mother's side sounds kind of like quite a character as well.
Yeah, there's quite a few notable cars from various members of the family, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Rather than just sort of one or two, it's kind of everyone's got something to bring to the table there, I would say.
Well, yeah, for us older folk, I guess the XR3i Cabriolet was, quite a choice vehicle. And I guess interesting on that side of the family, which we didn't kind of go sort of dig into it, but obviously his grandmother and his mother kind of favouring Cabriolets a lot of the time.
Yeah. Like when I close my eyes and think of that convertible Escort, I just think of like late Bullseye and that being the special prize being wheeled out on the
Yeah.
revolving ribbons on it and that sort of thing.
Sounds like probably the same as the Mark IV, which was what Steve Holden's dad had, wasn't it? Or mum had. Like, they bought it for her as a Christmas present or birthday present, and they hid it away. Then it was up on that shelf in the in the warehouse,
just filed away.
Yeah, just tucked away out the way. Yeah, Chrysler 300C, it's kind of generally a little bit new for us, but you don't see a lot of those. And while we were talking about that, do you remember the Chrysler Neon?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see any of those these days. But
I think they were quite reliable cars from memory. I don't know why. I seem to think they were half decent.
It was a bit like a bug-eyed Ford Mondeo, wasn't it? It was kind of a bit sort of...
Yeah. There's a probe that I keep seeing around. I need to be in a position to stop. But yeah, the 300C, was quite a bold purchase, wasn't it, back in the day? Because obviously it's going up against sort of...
I guess it was up against, what, your S-Class, your E-Class, something like that? Like the A6?
Yeah, I think it'd be like 5 Series, E-Class, A6. Probably in that era, those three cars were pretty
heavy
damn
hitters.
good, weren't they? The heavy hitters. The Power 3, shall we say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're taking a bit of a gamble, really, if you were going for the Chrysler.
They were sort of the poor man's roller or poor man's Bentley, though, wasn't there? There was a few sort of makeover kits to sort of make them look like you get out and you look like a rapper or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all the chrome, wasn't it, really? It's sort of made out of the same materials that your shower head is, that sort of...
Exactly, yeah, plastic chrome. I remember seeing, a couple at car shows sort of modified on... I know a guy actually who's got a body drop one on hydraulics, which is kind of just slammed on the floor, massive chrome wheels, yeah. They do look kind of cool. Like
you can't call them dull. You definitely stick out.
And yeah, obviously the estate version, even rarer. I imagine, 10 years' time, that's probably going to be a bit of a coveted car. A bit like kind of the XJ6 estates and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were made in a bit higher numbers, but for the amount you actually see of them, it's probably going to be something that people will be interested in.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, nice little episode. Thank you very much, John.
Pleasure.
We'll wrap it up and roll the credits.
Thank you for listening to My Dad's Car. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please support us. Buy us a coffee and subscribe. And tell all your friends.